Well, hello. It's been a while. Hope you're okay. I'm not. But Happy New Year. Who's happy? If 2020 was tiring, no wonder so many of us feel just exhausted at the beginning of 2021. Think about it, just a year ago, the American government was learning something about this new pneumonia in China. And if you remember, in the following weeks, the president,
and this is their new hoax.
that's what he called it, a political hoax.
Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. You know that, right? Coronavirus.
He downplayed it, but in private, he was telling a reporter that COVID-19 was deadly. September 11th is a date that I think at least everybody my age will always remember where they were on September 11, 2001. You'll remember where you were when you either saw it happen live, or you were there, or you saw the replay when one tower fell and then the other, you watched a commercial airliner careen into the next and explode, and then fall. There's a lot to be said about, how it is that America got even to that point almost 2 decades ago. And there are some similarities between the systemic failures of our executive office and the federal government now than there were then. That's for a different conversation. But what I remember was after those towers fell and those attacks, Americans came together. I'd never seen anything like that in my lifetime. It looked a lot different. There was a shutdown. Every airplane landed. Commercial air traffic halted. And Americans held on to each other in solidarity, probably for the only time I've ever seen in my life. Probably not since when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. Generations before. That's when 9/11 killed 3,000 people that day. That attack seemed unreal, the number of people who were taken from us. Around 3,000. And now, nearly 2 decades later, nearly a generation later, almost that many people right now are dying every day in America. It was in the middle of March last year. I remember this. That's when Washington State's Governor Jay Inslee announced sweeping changes, unheard of restrictions on gatherings and how businesses could operate or even be open. And I covered that news conference. But I covered it from inside a car, and I was listening to an audio feed. And during that press conference, I heard one person say that at that moment we had to act as if every person we met could be infectious. And then Governor Inslee said something I never thought I would ever hear in my life, and still to this day it echoes in my head.
Never since World War II have we faced a situation like this where we both can be part of this battle, but must be part of this battle. This is bigger than all of us, and I am fully confident that Washingtonians will rise to this challenge to get back to a normal state of our life as soon as humanly possible.
I tell people I remember that, and they don't remember anything that I'm talking about. It is as crystal clear now as it was then. Are we back? Are we ever even close to where Inslee said we would be? Not even fucking close. It's the beginning of 2021. You know, in the last pandemic, almost a century ago, in 1918, multiple waves of the Spanish flu killed 50 million or so people worldwide. And I've read that's, we don't really know exactly how a lot of the regular folks, everyday people, endured that crisis so long ago. And I remember reading that we don't really know a lot about that because there's really not a lot written or reported about those experiences. And what I've read is that might be because the people then, they didn't like who they became. And a century later, it feels like that's exactly what this is like all over again. Science deniers, mask deniers, vaccine deniers, and right now, conflatrates continue to scream at the top of their lungs to push the doors wide open, reopen our economy. In barely the last 8 weeks in America, 10 million cases doubled to 20 million. 350,000 are dead, more than anywhere else on the planet. If you had not declined to buy 100 plus million doses of the vaccine, I think he could have won re-election 2020. He could have pulled off an upset that for once could prove you could serve all of us. And instead, his petulance continued. He's convinced his voters believe that this election was rigged. His party has marched again in lockstep with this nonsense, this anti-democratic rhetoric, and flames. They scream out of his mouth and ears, right? But here it feels like Americans are holding each other hostage. They still refuse to wear masks. They continue with conspiracy after another. And some of these are the same people who stood together shoulder to shoulder, side by side, in solidarity when aircrafts were used as weapons against us. And they cheered our military for our bloodthirst, our need for revenge. And today they've turned our back. They've turned their back on all of us. Healthcare workers are watching all of this happen from the front row. And they are exhausted. It might be just in the past couple of weeks, but in a nearby county, nearly every healthcare worker resigned from that county health district. Exhausted. And now the county's scrambling to hire more. Nearly 3,000 healthcare workers across America have been killed by this virus. That's all happened in less than a year. And we still have a game show host. You know, and he was telling Americans that the news was fake. That what they were seeing and hearing on their newscast wasn't really happening.
In a speech to the VFW, President Trump told veterans to ignore what the news media is reporting about the economy as the president pushes the U.S. toward a trade war.
Just stick with us. Don't believe the crap you see from these people, the fake news. Just remember, what you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening.
You know, there's one-offs and conspiracy and partisan news sites. They flourished, right? And these our internet overlords, these new behemoths and their algorithms exacerbate the spread of that bullshit. No matter the lie. So when the news tells you that Donald Trump lost more legal challenges to his re-election than there are American states, and people don't believe it, well, the truth just doesn't matter anymore if you refuse to seek it. Now we've learned another COVID variant has crossed the globe. It's here. It spreads more easily. It's more infectious. And the same mission that Governor Inslee shared last March is just as true now. But here we are, 4 decades after HIV went screaming through my tribe and took thousands of Americans. It took sons and brothers, and it took my mentors. And here we are watching the American government do the same thing. First, they denied it was even a big deal, prioritized commerce over healthcare. And those left on the margins were left to suffer, while our loved ones just laughed at us.
I checked thoroughly with Dr. Ruge this morning, and he's had no patients suffering from AIDS or whatever it is. Oh, didn't say that. I thought I heard you on the State Department over there. Why do you stay over there?
Because I love you, Larry.
Oh, I see. Well, let's don't put it in those terms, Dustin. I hope so.
Really not sure I see much of a difference between then and now. We got a real healthcare crisis in this country, and we've got a catastrophe unfolding, let alone our mental state. And that's been going on, I don't even know since when. But before any of us can get back to work, normal, with their families, their friends and parties and get-togethers, thousands more will die. because conflatriots and liberals I think our economy is our purpose. Well, it's not. And we still need the bravery of all of us and that solidarity like we had on 9/11. Same commitment to each other and to our country. Love each other.